Good morning, and welcome to home worship for May 3rd, 2020, the fourth Sunday of Easter, also called Good Shepherd Sunday. Let us pray. Good Shepherd, you call us by name, and we know your voice. Open the gate for us, and we may come and go freely, have life, and have it abundantly. Amen. Our Hebrew scripture, as you might expect, is the beloved 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And our gospel lesson is from John chapter 10, verses 1 through 16. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought them all his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know the voice. The stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. This figure Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. And so Jesus again said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not heed them. I am the door, that when anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hireling and not a shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hireling and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. As the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will heed my voice. So there shall be one flock and one shepherd. This is the word of the Lord. You might have guessed that my message today is, the Lord is my shepherd. Fourth Sunday of Easter, according to the lectionary, is Good Shepherd Sunday, each and every year. The texts for worship vary from year to year, but they all include references to both God and Jesus being the Good Shepherd. There are more Good Shepherd passages than you might think, but the two I think that come most quickly to mind are the ones we just heard. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. In John 10, where Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. Now this year, 2020, the year when our normal patterns of life have been disrupted, when we have great concern for our own life and health and for the life and health of others, we have a special need to hear and deal with these texts. Good Shepherd Sunday really speaks to us in a way it might not have before, as we are huddled into our own sheepfolds, fearful of the wolf called the coronavirus. Let's start with Psalm 23, where David, who was once a shepherd boy and later grew up to be a shepherd king, expressed his love for God being his shepherd. Now, when I'm driving in the car, I've noticed how many different radio stations or channels will run countdowns to favorite music of a certain type, country, or rock, or whatever. And now, number one, the top hit of the 50s will be at the end of that countdown. Now, if we had a countdown of people's favorite Bible passages, the 23rd Psalm would be many people's number one and in most people's top 10. Why? Well, it is a beautiful, beautiful psalm with quiet trust in God. That no matter what situation we find ourselves in life, God is there, shepherding, guiding, protecting, feeding, and leading us home. It's a great comfort at any time to think of God like that, and especially at times of distress and difficulty, such as having our lives disrupted by a pandemic. It's also a text we love to hear at funerals, when we celebrate how God, the shepherd, will lead us and those we love to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Jeff Pascal, a Presbyterian pastor, described the psalm this way. Every moment God is pursuing us, hounding us with goodness and kindness. What kind of God is this? The psalmist says this God is our shepherd, who grants our needs, causes us to rest and be restored, leads us in the right ways of living, protects us from evil, honors and blesses us, and never stops pursuing us with goodness and kindness, unquote. And since the traditional language of the psalm is so familiar that we may not really hear it every time, I invite you to hear Psalm 23 in a new way, as translated by Eugene Peterson in The Message. God, my shepherd, I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath and send me in the right direction. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, I'm not afraid when you walk by my side. Your trusty shepherd's cook makes me feel secure. You serve me a 6-course dinner right in front of my enemies. Revive my drooping head. My cup brims with blessing. Your beauty and love chase after me every day of my life. And I'm back home in the house of God for the rest of my life. I don't think it'll ever replace the one we heard earlier, but did it give you some new phrases or new insights to think about? Well, we hear the image of God as a good shepherd in Psalm 23. We hear the image of Jesus Christ as a good shepherd in John chapter 10. We know that they both say a lot about the caring nature of God and about Jesus Christ. But what does it say about us? Obviously, if God or Jesus is a good shepherd, we must be the sheep. Like the psalmist says, Psalm 95, verse 7, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, the sheep of his hand. Psalm 100, verse 3, know that the Lord is God, it is he that made us, and we are his. We are the people and the sheep of his pasture. Yet there is some harsh realism that comes to play, for the psalmist also admits in Psalm 119, I have gone astray like a lost sheep. And the prophets talked about the people of Israel becoming lost and scattered like sheep without a shepherd. And they talked about kings who led them on their own paths, being bad shepherds. So the question comes up, what kind of sheep are we? Are we more like the sheep in the traditional painting of Jesus as a good shepherd, looking adoringly and trustingly up at our master, or carried in our master's arms? Or are we like the sheep who are stubborn and fearful, always running the wrong way and getting into trouble? Craig Barnes, a Presbyterian pastor, had some wonderful insights into this matter when he wrote about it in the Christian Century. Sheep aren't particularly smart. They scare easily, they have a knack for getting lost. Most of us don't look lost, he reminds us. We haven't fallen through society's cracks into homelessness and poverty. But David would say, oh no, it is you who have lost your way in a relationship that's offered more hurt than love, in a job that leaves you depleted and spent, or the guilty of not being good enough, pretty enough, or smart enough, or someone whose judgments cut deep, unquote. Well, he's right about that, isn't he? We do get lost. We may lose our physical health. Our attitudes may turn bitter or uncaring or suspicious. We turn in upon ourselves and shut the world out. Or we go so busy being a good parent, a good spouse, a good employee, or even a good church member, that we just wear ourselves out to a frazzle. Or maybe a harmless escape becomes an addiction, a way of avoiding reality. And just like the sheep who nibbles his way away from the flock, one mouthful of grass at a time, we don't realize what's happened until we lift our heads and look around and realize we're lost, we're alone. And that's judgment, isn't it? We end up lost and alone, and when we realize the fact, we panic. We end up more lost and more alone. But then we hear a voice. The voice is someone looking for us. It could be during a phrase in the worship service, perhaps reading a scripture, or a flash of insight during the communion. It could be the concerned look on the face of someone who loves us. It could be a physical warning sign that we've been neglecting our own health. It could be a silent stirring within our soul. But still, it's the voice of the Good Shepherd calling us back, calling us home. It's the voice of the one who will go to any lengths to find us, to rescue us, save us from our own stupidity, from our own sin. It's the voice of the one who went to the cross for us, the Good Shepherd who laid down his life for us, the one who defeated the final enemy, death itself, so that we might be rescued by his resurrection power. And that, my friends, is why Good Shepherd Sunday is always celebrated during the Easter season. Now, when Jesus talked about being the Good Shepherd, he also talked about being the gate, the guard of the sheepfold. Shepherd? Gate? Well, he wasn't mixing metaphors. For when evening would come in Bible times, the shepherds would often lead their sheep into a closed pen or an area with a single opening. And then the shepherd would lie down to sleep across that opening and literally become the gate himself to keep the sheep in and to keep predators out. He would lay down his life and put his life on the line to protect the flock. So what does that all mean for us? How should we respond? God calls us to love and to trust. God calls us to obedience. And God comes looking for us when we're lost. But throughout the Bible, the message seems to be God, Jesus, is a good shepherd, but you are more than sheep. You are shepherds too. As parents, when you dedicate your infants, you promise to shepherd your child so he or she could follow the Good Shepherd. As congregation members, we make similar promises to love and nourish and guide the children of this church and community to be their shepherds. We're called to live out ways of love and justice, to reach out and help those who are lost and despairing. Especially during this pandemic, we are called to be shepherds of one another. We do that by protecting one another's health through social distancing and through hand washing. We also do it through phone calls or social media, checking in and on and encouraging people who we love but who are separated from us physically. Or we can be a shepherd through porch concerts, or making posters to cheer on healthcare workers or letter carriers, or through words of encouragement and mutual support to those that we meet, but at a 6-foot distance, of course. Now, only God through Jesus Christ is the Good Shepherd. But God wants you to be a good shepherd. You've heard the voice calling. How do you respond? Amen. May the God who calls you by name lead us out to green pastures and lead us into the safety of Christ's fold. Amen.